Hi, and welcome to the summary and analysis of Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 5. If you're an educator, don't miss my Teaching Romeo and Juliet series, which is a whole other thing, also on this website. Finally, this is not a spoiler-free video, fair warning, but if you're good to go, then make a mutiny amongst my guests, you saucy boy, and we'll dive into Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 5. Scene 5 begins in the kitchen of the Capulet party. Dinner is over and the servants are clearing up. They have some typically clever repartee full of double meanings, and it's mostly nonsense and you should skip it. In line 15, we rejoin the action with Big Daddy Capulet welcoming Romeo and his crew to the party. It's a masquerade situation, so Capulet doesn't know that this is the son of his sworn enemy. He opens by coyly declaring, "Ladies that have their toes unplagued with corns will walk about with you," meaning dance. Then he promptly explains, "Aha, my mistresses, which of you all will now deny to dance? She that makes dainty, she, I'll swear, hath corns." He's like, do you see what I did there? With the corns? Capulet continues playing the jovial host, while Romeo moves about the party. Then his eyes fall on Juliet and the world stops. He asks a passing servant, "What lady is that which doth enrich the hand of yonder knight?" Yonder knight is presumably Paris. In the movie, it's Paul Rudd who plays it as such a wide-eyed goober. I love it. I only bring it up to show you my favorite single frame of the movie. There it is. God, that guy loves a balloon. Makes me so happy. The servant doesn't know, and Romeo continues, "Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand." So after the song, he is going to watch where she goes and then touch her hand, which, we need to talk about consent. He continues, "Did my heart love till now? Forswear at sight, for I never saw true beauty till this night." So goodbye, Rosaline. Also, I'm sure the servant is like, dude, I'm just here to serve the hors d'oeuvres. May I offer you a salmon puff? So we're going to get that hand-touchy moment in a second, but first our attention is shifted to Tybalt, who happens to be passing by and overheard the masked Romeo. He IDs him by his voice. This by his voice should be a Montague. "Fetch me my rapier, that's a sword, boy. What dares this slave come hither, covered with an antic face, to fleer and scorn at our solemnity? Now by the stock and honor of my kin, to strike him dead I hold it not a sin." Remember scene 1 when we talked about masculine honor? Tybalt has no breaks. Give me my sword, I'm killing this guy right now. Luckily for Romeo, Big Daddy Capulet intercepts Tybalt on the way to the sword closet. Sword check? "Uncle, this is a Montague, our foe, a villain that is hither come in spite to scorn at our solemnity this night." "Young Romeo, is it? 'Tis he, that villain Romeo. Content thee, gentle coz, let him alone. He bears him like a portly gentleman, and to say truth, Verona brags of him, to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. I would not for the wealth of all this town here in my house do him disparagement." So far Capulet has been all jovial host and corn jokes, but when Tybalt pushes, we learn who's really in charge here. Tybalt starts, "I'll not endure him, he shall be endured." "What, goodman boy, I say he shall. Go to. Am I the master here or you? Go to. You'll not endure him, God shall mend my soul. You'll make a mutiny among my guests. Go to, you are a saucy boy." So that's fun. Tybalt relents, but not before privately vowing, "I will withdraw, but this intrusion shall, now seeming sweet, convert to bitterest gall." Finally, we shift back to Romeo, and he is captivated by Juliet. Watching his chance, Romeo steals forward and takes her hand. When he speaks, he selects a metaphor where Juliet is a holy shrine, and he is a pilgrim paying homage. Romeo starts, "If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this. My lips, two blushing pilgrims ready stand, to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss." Juliet is totally game. She comes back, pushing the metaphor further. "Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrim hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss." So a palmer is a Christian who had taken a pilgrimage to Palestine to visit the holy sites. As a symbol of their journey, they would return with a palm leaf folded into the shape of a cross. Juliet is teasing Romeo. Palm to palm, so like prayer, that is a holy palmer's kiss. Romeo, "Have not saints lips and holy palmers too?" "Aye, pilgrim, lips they must use in prayer." "Oh, then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do, they pray. Grant thou, lest faith turn to despair." "Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake. Then move not, while my prayer's effect I take." So Juliet, who is a holy statue in this metaphor, says, "Saints grant prayers, but they do not move." And Romeo is like, "I am fine with that." He kisses her, saying, "Thus from my lips, by thine, my sin is purged." Now, what I love about Juliet, like I said, is that she is game. She is not wilting or weak or swept away. She knows what she wants, and what she wants is Romeo. Her next line is an invitation, and Romeo does not miss it. "Then have my lips the sin that they have took? Sin from my lips, oh trespass sweetly urged, give me my sin again." Then they make out for a while. Finally, the nurse approaches, and they, I assume, surface for air. The nurse says that Juliet's mom wants a word. Romeo asks the nurse who's her mother, and learns in one terrible moment that she is a Capulet. The boys rally up to leave, and our attention shifts back to Juliet. She calls the nurse over and engages in some clever misdirection. She asks after a bunch of people at the party and then finally asks who that is, pointing to Romeo. The nurse goes to investigate, and Juliet speaks aloud. "If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed," which is foreshadowing. The nurse returns. "His name is Romeo, and a Montague, the only son of your great enemy." Juliet wraps it up with this. "My only love sprung from my only hate, too early seen unknown and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy." And that is the end of Act 1. So if we really want to understand Shakespeare, we gotta get a little deeper than just plot. Let's do a little analysis. So let's talk about the initial meeting between our two title characters. Shakespeare framed the whole encounter as a protracted, borderline blasphemous religious metaphor. Romeo is the pilgrim washing away his sins through devotion to the holy shrine of Saint Juliet. Shakespeare is implying that this love is so perfect, so pure, that it can only be described using the vocabulary of religion. But there's actually another layer here. Outside of his play, Shakespeare wrote a lot of love poetry, specifically in the form of sonnets. There's a couple different types of sonnets, but Shakespeare was fond of the 4-line stanza, 4-line stanza, 4-line stanza, 2-line stanza form with this rhyme scheme. Well, in this moment, where his two fate-ordained star-crossed lovers come together for the first time, their combined dialogue, their first conversation, like a zipper, it forms a perfect love sonnet when combined. But even in this moment, we are not free to hope, because readers cannot help but be reminded of the only other Shakespearean sonnet in this play. It's the 14-line prologue that declared in no uncertain terms that these two lovers share a desperate and unavoidable fate. Finally, there's one last thing to point out, just in case that prologue thing didn't bring you down enough, and here it is. Tybalt's vow to kill Romeo, it's what sets everything in motion. Like a spark that touches off a forest fire, we are already on the road to their demise. And what was it that brought Romeo's presence to Tybalt's attention? It was Romeo speaking aloud about Juliet. It wasn't him clowning with his friends or talking to a waiter, it was him seeing Juliet. It's like the very instant their love is born, the very moment he puts it out into the world and makes it manifest, he plants the seeds of their demise. And that's Act 1, Scene 5. Thank you for watching. Next time we head to the Act 2 prologue, Act 2, Scene 1, and Scene 2. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.